Swann's father was a stockbroker. His offspring was destined until his death to belong to that caste, where the amount of income, as in the salary sheet, fluctuated between such and such a figure. His father's acquaintances were known. Consequently, his acquaintances were also known. It is known with whom he befits to hang out. If he had any other kind of connections, then the old friends of his family, such as my relatives, looked the more willingly through their fingers at these relations of a young man, because, having become an orphan, he continued to visit us constantly. However, one could safely bet that he would not have dared to bow to these unknown persons in our presence. If one were to compare Swann's share with that of other sons of stockbrokers of the same caliber as his father, then this weight would be slightly lower for him, because he was a very unpretentious person, was obsessed with old things and in pictures, and now lived in an old house, which he filled up with his collections, and where my grandmother wanted to go, but the mansion was on the Orleans embankment, and my great-aunt thought it was indecent to live there. "Are you really an expert?" she asked Swan. "I'm asking this question in your own interests. It's true that the merchants are giving you all sorts of scribbles." She really was convinced that Swan did not understand anything about this. Moreover, she generally had a low opinion of his mind, because in conversations he avoided serious topics, but showed awareness in very prosaic matters, and not only when, entering into the smallest details, supplied us with cooking recipes, but also when my grandmother's sisters talked to him about art. If they pestered him to speak out, to express his admiration for some picture, he stubbornly kept silent, so that it became almost indecent, and got rid of them by giving exact information in which museum it was located and when it was painted. But he usually limited himself to telling us, in order to amuse us, each time a new story that he had with someone we knew, with the Combray apothecary, with our cook, with our coachman. Of course, his stories made my great-aunt laugh, but she could not understand why. The funny role that Swan invariably played in them, or the wit of the narrator. "Well, you are an eccentric, Swan." Since she, the only member of our family, was rather vulgar, when it came to Swan in front of strangers, she tried to screw in that if he wanted, he could live on Haussmann Boulevard or on Opera Street, which his father left him 4 million, or even 5, but that he let himself into a whim. However, this whim seemed amusing to her, and when Swan brought her a box of sugared chestnuts in Paris on New Year's Eve, then, if she had anyone at that time, she did not miss the opportunity to ask Swan the question, "Well, Mr. Swan, do you still live near the wine warehouses? Are you afraid to miss the train when you have to go along the Lion Road?" And then she sideways, over her pince-nez, glanced at the guests. But if she had been told that Swan, who, as the son of the late Swan, was ranked among the ranks of those whom the colour of the Third Estate accepts, the most respected Parisian notaries and lawyers, meanwhile, Swan, apparently, neglected this privilege of his, lives a double life, that, having left us in Paris, instead of going home to sleep, which he informed us about before leaving, he turned back around the corner and went into such a drawing-room, where not a single broker and not a single broker's assistant was allowed on the threshold,